How's everybody doing? This is Parker Denny and this is Shay. We are the Fighting Foolishness podcast. This is our second iteration of this podcast, and we thought the first one was great, so we just decided to keep doing this. So with all that said, I'm going to throw it to Shay. What are we going to be talking about today, Shay?
We're going to be talking about Mother's Day.
Yes, this is actually Mother's Day today, and it's actually been a really nice Mother's Day for us, you know. Shay's one of my closest friends. She's a mom. One of my other close friends, also a mom. And so I decided to celebrate with them today. And it's been a fantastic day.
Yes, it has been. So, first of all, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
All the moms.
All of them. And I would like to send a special happy Mother's Day out to my mother, who is still here who's on this earthly plane, Catherine Ann. That's who she was when I was coming up. I think she's Catherine now. She's kind of like Prince.
What, changing her name?
There's personalities that go along with the name changes.
Okay.
You know, and she owns all the masters to her stuff. So,
knowing her, I'm glad she does. Yes.
The world wouldn't be able to handle it.
It would no, nobody's ready for that. Nobody's ready for that.
So, this week, I just wanted to talk about moms since with Mother's Day here. I was definitely feeling the energy of that, and also some of the history of Mother's Day. I was like, where does this even come from? Because, there's always someone saying, oh, it's a commercial holiday and all of the things. And so I decided to look it up and see. One of the things, so Mother's Day isn't unique to America at all.
Oh, really?
No, it's not unique.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's not unique to America. Most countries have some version of Mother's Day. That was something that I've had a friend of mine has told me about Haitian Mother's Day. I've heard about Mexican Mother's Day, and I'm like, so I just wanted to know, where that lied. Gosh, who did it? No. So like, what just happened?
This is like the honorary co-host of the podcast.
He is.
Kosh.
He's our third
co-host. You'll see him, and it's great. Okay, because whatever he's doing is the greatest thing for him to be doing in that moment. And I guess he heard something outside, and he decided, okay, this is time to investigate. And that's what he does. And so you'll see him come and stand right in the middle of the screen and make the show his. And we honor that because that's Kosh, and that's what he likes to do.
Very much so.
So with all that said,
and even some of what I saw was even discussed how the concept of Mother's Day is ancient actually, and they referenced Greek and Roman festivals that were celebrating like divine goddess mothers. One of them was Rhea, and another one was Celebine or Silent. Let me just let Google do the work.
Yeah, we gotta have a pronunciation.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Google do the work because
I was not ready for that. Actually, I knew that there was a history behind Mother's Day, but I didn't know that it went back that far. So you're educating me because I didn't
expect that either.
In a lot of ways, it makes a lot of sense because mothers literally birth us. Like we of course we need masculine and feminine. We need men and women to create children. However, we come out of the womb of a mother, and so it's not shocking in that regard that we would be celebratory of that and honoring of that. What am I looking at?
Cybele, Cybele.
See, we need the phonetic. Because they don't do that. They don't do phonics anymore. Where are we? I mean, that's another podcast.
Mothers. That's what y'all.
But
just so you know, all the people who can't pronounce the words, and I have a son who sometimes can't pronounce the words, and I blame myself, and it's okay.
Why do you blame yourself?
Because I didn't do because I wasn't I was not a hooked on phonics mom. I believed in it because there were people who taught me phonics, yet they taught me phonics in such a way that it never stayed with me to be like anything other than AEIOU. So,
well, yeah. and that's an interesting to that point. I mean, that's something that even while we were talking about what we were going to even talk about for the podcast today, it really does take a village to raise a child. And so for you to just take ownership of that entirely, I don't think it's fair. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things we can do in our homes to rear children. And I'm not a father yet. Hopefully one day I will be one, but I think I can still speak on this.
mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of things you can do to rear children. However, if those things aren't supported in the community that you're in, then it just makes it that much harder. It's not impossible,
true,
but it just makes it that much harder. So if you're doing phonics and they're not doing it in schools, then that's going to be a whole
mm-hmm.
situation. And not to say, well, it won't work, but it just makes it a whole lot harder, almost an uphill battle in some ways. So,
true.
And in terms of pronunciation, it's Cybele.
Yes.
And so that, I mean, I'm like, is that Sybil? Because that could be Sybil, Cybele. I mean, like,
It could be.
So we'll maybe another time we'll figure out.
We'll figure out how to next week.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Right.
Look, if I remember. Oh, that one word I couldn't quite say.
Yeah, right.
So so it was referencing different ways in which they were celebrated and honored, and how. So the person who lobbied for it to become a recognized holiday here in America, her name was Anne Reeves Jarvis, and she actually wanted it to be a time when women got together and worked on peace and fostering peace.
Really?
Yes, because she felt that
this is 2025. We don't do peace anymore.
So okay. Look, guys.
What are we talking
so look, guys. So part of my desire to talk about Mother's Day today was not just talking about Mother's Day. It was actually talking about women and mothers and I hate to say our role. I'm like, who? Look, hold on. This might be a little bit longer.
I don't even know what she's about to say, but I know whatever it is, she needs to say it because
in our role,
we're winging this thing.
Yeah, we are. And our role in society, and our role in society as mothers, and how our presence and at times the lack of honor that is seen, the lack of honor that's given to women. I feel like that is a big part of the things that are currently permeating in our society. And I don't just mean American society. I mean in the world in general. There's enough conversation where women are not honored in the things they do, in the contributions that they make, in the vision that they have, in the way in which they can push forth the vision. And that's seen across the world. And sometimes it's seen in little ways and other times it's seen in much bigger ways. And I believe that we're currently watching. We're watching as the world sees what it's like for men to rise up in a way that doesn't have the balance of women. I know. I see, guys.
See,
this
okay, so just to be clear, we didn't talk about what we were going to be talking about today, and I honor this topic. I'm standing here and I'm like, I don't even need to say to that. I just give Shannon the floor and let her talk. Because I'm in agreement. I think that makes a lot of sense. And the challenge that I see, to your point,
mm-hmm.
is when it comes to honoring women, and this isn't to take away from that at all. I need to be crystal clear when I say this, is I think that we don't have an attitude in our society on any front where it takes, we know that it actually takes everybody to move what we're doing along in our society. Like it takes everybody. It takes men and it takes women.
It does.
Right? And men can't stand here and behave like it doesn't take women, because none of us would be here without them. And that's a
womb.
that's a thing, right? That womb is something like that is the seat of literal creation. Yeah. And this notion that we're going to that we can go along and get along without women is almost so absurd that why are we even saying that? But that's really a belief system that a lot of people seem to have. And granted, there's a lot of context. Like this is a conversation that's highly culturally and spiritually and all the ullies. It's all of that, but it's very contextual in terms of like how different communities and how different cultures address women. And I think we can kind of speak for Western society in a way, you know, this idea that we're going to move forward without them is just, it comes out even in the tone and tenor of how we talk about how we're going to run our country and how we're going to participate with others. It's like, oh no, like honoring women, and that is a thing. And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on and on about this, but it's a vital part of the equation.
So because we are winging it.
Yeah, I mean,
because we are winging it, I wanted to.
And I don't even think we need to say that because we're doing pretty good. I shouldn't have said that. I'm not going to shit on myself.
No, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. We do things.
We do.
Just so you know, we do things. And yeah. So in this article I was reading, let me give credit to where credit's due. It's from the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum. It's a history of Mother's Day. And one of the things that they said, there was a call for women to improve global policy making and seek peace. That's what the person who originally was fighting for Mother's Day to be recognized for. Her daughter was the one who successfully got it recognized after she passed away. Her daughter wanted it to be a day just to recognize mothers and the role that they have in society. So her daughter was pushing for more of what we currently have, while her mother was pushing for actually she was a suffragette, so yes, she was pushing for some equality. Yet from some of the things that I reviewed, it seemed like there was quite a bit of reference to just a voice in the conversation. And reading further into that article, the power in, she felt that women could drive peace. And this was she was making this push during, what prompted this? She lived in a town that was affected by the Civil War. It was in what is modern day West Virginia. And so from the same small town, you had families that fought on both sides.
Wow.
And so at the end of the war, she had she called them mothers working groups or something to that effect, to attempt to foster, to basically rebuild the community, because you have people with different political views who have fought, been maimed, killed, all of those things, and they have to go back to living side by side in community. And thinking about the timeline of the Civil War, and just there was a requirement that the community supported itself.
When you say the community supported itself, what do you mean by that?
So the person who had there might not be a general store.
Oh, got it.
It's very likely that there was quite a bit of bartering.
Yeah.
And if you're in a small town, you're not necessarily going to have a general store. There might be a central place where everyone kind of meets and does things.
Yeah, but everybody has a role.
Everybody has a role in that community.
In a different way.
So one person might have corn, one person might have wheat, one person may be the person who does sewing, one person may do like ironworks, things of that nature. One person may have lumber, and if they allowed everything that happened during that war to continue to keep them apart, because like thinking about what it would have been like in that town while that war was going on. Mm-hmm. So this woman also, Anne Jarvis Reeves, she helped to one of the mothers groups that she helped found. They provided medical care to soldiers no matter what side they were on.
Nice.
And so it's just like, so to know that the Mother's Day that we currently celebrate, where we're honoring mothers, the person who wanted to do that, her ties go back as far as the Civil War. And she was just attempting to rebuild her community. The desire to rebuild her community started with the mothers. And, even what's interesting to me, I am a single mom. I have two sons who 19 and 15. When they were little, I used to just consume different things to attempt to make their lives better in the long run, and as well as just be the best mom that I could be to them. And there were so many things where I would look at it and I'm like, as a mom, if I'm not more educated, if I don't read more, if I don't write more, if I don't stay up on what is actually going on, how will I be able to support them in their education later? How will I be able to prepare them for the world if I make our world super small? And so it's just really interesting to me to think about this woman who just wanted her community to be better, and how I can see the parallels between herself and myself in just attempting to be a good mom to my sons. I just wanted them to be the best that they could possibly be. And so I want the world to be better for them. And I'm sure that was a part of her thought too. I don't know that she had kids. Well, she had 12 kids. I don't know. I don't know how many kids she had during the Civil War, yet to have all those children and for your neighbor not to talk to you because of your political affiliation. And then look at where we are right now.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I think about motherhood, I think about the womb. I mean, that's a major part of being a mom, is just literally creating and holding life for it to be birthed. And when I think about the womb, I think about there are two words I think about. It's creation and safety. Mm. And this idea that this woman would would make such an effort in a very politically volatile time to just create a zone, and it's not just creating a zone of creation and safety, but it's also making it a point to elevate that awareness all over the country as a mission. That's I mean that's a lesson that we all need to like hold in our hearts,
Mm-hmm.
because even when you think about war and why a normal citizen would choose to fight in that way, I would, I personally think that a lot of that would have to do with that people don't feel safe.
Mm.
Like they don't feel safe. And just think about that in the climate that we're in right now. That lack of safety, whether that feeling is, I don't want to say true or real, but whether it's actually backed up by reality or not, it's that feeling of lack of safety that will create that thing inside of you that says, I want to go out into the world and I want to fight and I want to do things that could potentially be harmful and destroy others, right? And
And the other and destroying others are the only way for me to find safety.
exactly, precisely. I mean, it's mind boggling.
Ooh.
It's mind boggling, and the idea that we're sitting here in 2025
Looking at the same thing.
looking at everybody's looking at what's going on around us, and many people don't feel safe, and 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 there's a lot of circular logic and reasoning about around why people don't feel safe. Like one group doesn't feel safe, but like everybody feels like a victim, and everybody doesn't feel safe because there's a tone and tenor that that they're being victimized by another group, which is a perfect recipe for violence and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And this and having, especially in the Civil War, when the tensions at that time were manyfold. I mean, you could look at racial tensions. You could look at just the fact of an economy changing from an agrarian economy to an industrial.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at all of these things and how ultimately the root of much of it is, okay, when things are uncertain, that equals lack of safety. That's what that is, right? And so that uncertainty leads to lack of safety, and which leads to people wanting to do something about it. And then when you say you want to do something about it, it's like, okay, what are you going to do about it? Okay, it yeah, you might meet in a room to talk about it, but when talking doesn't seem to work, the next thing is to talk with fists or guns instead of words.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of mind blown that was the thing, because you can't recognize that now because we're in America, and one of the things America is really good at is finding a way to monetize anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was even sharing when we were talking about even having this as a topic. I was like, okay, well, every day should be Mother's Day. However, this is the day where commercially we make it a thing. So we fill up the reservation butt logs at restaurants. Hallmark gets their due, gets the Hallmark tax, and all that. But we really like having a culture where mothers and that maternal energy is honored is very important. Yeah. I can't. There's no words that could describe how important that is.
And it's interesting. So, in listening to you talk about safety and how the feeling of the lack of safety leads it just has a natural progression to violence, and how this woman felt that creating a Mother's Day where that recognized women and women got together and discussed global policy making. That's a mandate. And I was like,
Yeah.
I said, so for me, that's a mandate of it is my it is my God given honor to create safety. And how do I create safety? And so as I'm listening to you talk about it, I'm like, interesting. Interesting, because that was one of the things that was I never referenced it as safety yet, because that wasn't the thought. The thought was confidence. The thought was just a knowing of themselves in such a way. Because
You mean the mothers knowing
no,
themselves, or just a community?
so twofold part.
Okay.
So speaking to women, it's important for you to know yourself and know yourself as a woman and know yourself as a mother. Along those lines, it's not the way that life works out, the culture that in which we live in, and I'm speaking of Western culture, American culture. It is not uncommon for there to be single moms. It's not uncommon for there to even be teen moms and things of that. And when I say single mom, I mean the full gambit of single moms. You know, situationally single, like, however. So in America, moms come in many, many packages. Yet, one of the most profound things in that is, and it was something that I didn't learn until my oldest was probably 7 or 8. I was doing I was doing my children a disservice by not knowing myself and by hiding myself behind the facade of mom.
Mm.
So
that's interesting.
When I say the facade of mom, I have a mom personality, but I also have a Shayla personality. And in order for my sons to grow up and think that it was okay for them to be themselves, I had to be okay with being myself.
Yep.
And if I only presented them mom, and I thought, how sad would it be for me to be 60 years old and my sons meet me for the first time?
Wow. That's a deep statement.
Like, I wanted them to know the things that make me laugh. I wanted them to know the types of music that I love. I wanted them to know. I wanted them on Mother's Day to not feel like they had to take me out to dinner, buy me flowers, and just get a card. I wanted them to know me in such a way that we could go and do something that was actually my personality, and they would be absolutely okay. They would absolutely understand that they don't have to be. They don't have to be these kind of sons, and I don't have to be this kind of mom, because ultimately I'm Shayla first and their mom second. Now, their mom, being their mom is the most important work that I do. Always. Yet, that is, for me, that is a God given job. And I tell them, I attempt to tell them every birthday, every Christmas, every Mother's Day at minimum, they are the blessings that saved my life. Because who I am is in direct proportion to who they are growing into. I don't behave. I behave how I want them to line up with. Like, I attempt to live in alignment with could I tell my sons about this, even when they're old enough to digest it? Could me and them have a conversation about it and actually laugh about, like, just laugh, because I'm human, so I do foolish stuff, and
No.
yes, and enjoy it too.
You know what?
Gotta have my, gotta have my fun somewhere. So I want to experience the full gambit of their personality, and I want them to experience the full gambit of mine as well, because I believe it gives them more confidence to walk in the world. And remember when I called you and I was talking and then I started crying about Elijah getting pulled over by the cops?
You're going to jog my memory. I know that this happened.
So my son got pulled over by the cops, and for all intents and purposes, he should have gotten a ticket. It could have gone horrible. Yeah, and it could have gone horrible. Yeah. I'm grateful. He's a good young man. I'm not gonna say he's a good kid. He is a kid because he's mine. Yet he's a good young man. He, after going back and forth with the cop and giving him information and us doing all the things.
Yeah. Okay.
And the officer said, "All right, man, I'm gonna let you off with a warning, but I need you to get this, and this, the little line that you got to get this together. I'm gonna give you a warning this time." And I was just great. I was grateful. So this is my son's first time getting pulled over. And my heart is in my head and my feet. My heart's all over the place. And my son says to me after the cop walks away, "Mom, I feel so bad for that cop." And I was like, What?
Yeah.
My son's about 6 foot tall. He has a football player build, big and strong looking, dark skinned, young black man. And he told me he was scared he felt bad for the cop. So I was floored. "Why do you feel bad for the cop?" He said, "Mom, I feel bad for the cop because he was so nervous pulling me over." And I chose not to stay on the phone because I'm like, okay. I said, "Well, you're safe now." Yeah, I just need to breathe.
Yeah.
Like I had to hold my breath until, I said, "Okay, so where are you going to go to?" "I'm going home, Mom." "Yes, you are. Thank you. Thank you, son. Thank you, son. I appreciate you for, using those 19-year-old brain cells sometimes." I think there's only a couple. Y'all let me know how many you got.
At least 5.
5 to 7. Some days it's 7. Some days it's 3.
So we go average it out at 5.
5.
And some days we want to give him 10. Some days
we want to.
He
only lets us give him 9 at the most. Like, it literally, he'll say something so brilliantly profound and then immediately say the dumbest thing in the world. And I'll be like, "Oh, Lord, if you're trying to take me out,
Lord help us
don't
all.
Look. If you're trying to take me out, don't do it through my children, please." So, anyway, I said, "How did you know that the cop was scared?" He said, "Well, his hand was shaking, and it was sitting over here on his hip." And I'm like, so my son, whom that gun could have been pulled on very easily because it was dark, it was rainy, like it was a perfect storm for everything, was scared. He felt bad for the cop who had power at that time. And there's so many stories of young black men not walking away from situations like that. And so all of that to say, it's in stories like that that I realize Elijah knows who he is at his core. Doesn't always behave in the manner of who he is at his core, yet he knows who he is at his core. And because he knows who he is at his core, he moves around with an awareness and a safety that, and a feeling of safety that I don't have for him. And that's my charge as a mom, is to create a confidence within my children that when they operate in the world, they operate from a space of knowing who they are in such a way. Because my personal opinion is Elijah was able to leave those situations, leave that situation unscathed, and similar situations unscathed. One, because of the prayers of his great grandmothers, grandmothers, and great great grand, like because he's covered by those prayers, and also because he behaves from a knowingness of who he is. Because if he had behaved from a fear of who he was, it wouldn't have went that way.
Yeah.
And and as I sit here on this couch, I'm just having this profound takeaway of it was a perfect storm of blessings. Yet.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot to be said. I mean, you said like there's so much in what you just said about authenticity, about your own authenticity with yourself. Because I wonder, I guess, well, it was a question I was going to ask. I didn't want to interrupt. And now I'm like, is it even an appropriate question to ask? But I'm like, is there any separation now between Shayla and Mom?
Yes and no. I realize that I lead with Mom a lot more than what I would like to.
You mean like in the world?
In the world.
Okay.
In the world. I lead with Mom. And people tell me, they're like, I lead with Mom. Yet when I realize that I'm doing it, I attempt to lead more with Shayla. And yes. Both have colored my personality. But Mom has colored a huge part of my personality and will forever be with me. And I'm grateful that it's interesting that you say that. I'm great because going back to my children being a blessing who saved my life, I'm grateful that I'm a mother because I believe that the Shayla I was before I had my children was much more scared of the world than I am now. And I believe that the only reason that I don't operate from that fear as much is because I've developed a resilience of, okay, this is what life is throwing at me. And these two are gonna come through the other side of it. And how do I deal with this so that we all walk through?
I want to say something profound, and I'm like, I don't need to say anything profound because you said all the profound things.
I was like, was that profound? I don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, the short answer is yes, because I think that's like there's just so much because, you're one of the most aware people that I know, and that's very important, right? Because I think a lot of people don't break down what's happening in themselves and what's happening in the world and what's happening with the people, like, and the effect that they have on the people that are around them in the way even that you just did. And basically what I'm hearing is you made an active decision to, and this is something many mothers do. We're just talking about the awareness, um, being able to analyze it productively and move forward, right? So basically, what I heard you say is like um, you made certain decisions in terms of how you were going to be because you know you had to maintain a certain type of beingness and character um, for your children to be able, in order to pull them through into being who they are now. And that's so huge. And you were also talking about how you wanted to share your loves and your hates and your likes and your dislikes with your boys so that they could grow through that too, right? And that's something there's a psychologist, Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. Jordan Peterson's gotten off the chain a little bit.
He be a little crazy sometimes.
But I am in my life have been a huge fan of a lot of things that he says. And one of the things that he says about parenting, generally speaking, but it's to your point about what you said about mothering your boys, is you have to teach your children how not to piss you off. Like it's a thing, and it's actually a really big deal, and that requires a certain level of awareness. It's like honoring. There are things that you don't like, and if you don't like them, train your children not to do the things that you don't like.
Yeah.
Because while there's a wide gradient of behavior amongst people in general, and specifically parents, some of which can be very helpful and fruitful for the child, some of which can be very harmful for the child. And if you don't like your children because they're doing things that you don't like, then you're more likely not to treat them very well. True. And that's a big deal, right?
I was gonna say I never actually considered that, but okay.
It's one of his rules. It's like don't like, and so you being a person that's able, because it's one thing to internally like go out and do something, like we all do lots of things, but to be able to sit down and process it in a way that makes sense to other people in the way Shayla just did is another thing entirely. And so like that's a thing. It's like knowing that that's your job as a mom. And I'm going to, well, actually I'm not going to do that. What I was just thinking, I was like, well, anybody in your position, anybody that had children, that is taking care of their children would be kind of on the same plane, but that's not necessarily true.
Not necessarily true
at all.
Oh, something that I wanted to say, and I said no matter what, I was going to make sure I said it. Whatever mom that you have been, or a mom's listening, you did the best that you could.
Yes.
Hard stop. I'm not sitting here judging you for anything that you had to do to get to the next day. And no one gets to judge you for anything you had to do to get to the next day. And every day, just attempt to be a little bit better to yourself, no matter what, and you will get to where you need to be. And I say that in the same way I talk about authenticity. It was important for me to be authentic. And in that authenticity, what I first found is how bad I was being to myself. And no matter how beautifully you paint the pig, it's still going to be a pig. Mm-hmm. And so no matter what facade I put on as mom, while I was being bad to myself and great to my kids, I was hurting my kids. And definitely not directly, yet very indirectly. And I was teaching them things that I didn't want them to perpetuate. my greatest charge, and I'll just say it's mine, is, like you said, teach your kids to not do things that make you mad, that don't piss you off. Yet, as taking a step further, teach your kids to do things. Teach your kids to not do things that you don't want repeated. That's the teach your kids to do things that you don't want repeated. If it hurt you, if it broke you, why do you think it's not going to break your kids? It's going to. And um and the way in which it breaks them is not going to break them the same way that it broke you. So you're not going to see the breaking.
And you might not even be around for that part.
You're not, yeah,
that's the catch.
That's the catch.
Yeah.
And you've then created another human to potentially try to fix something they didn't break, that they are carrying guilt and shame around about, that ultimately was not even theirs. And forgive your mother. Hard stop. She did the best that she could. Hard stop. Forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself is harder to do than forgiving your mother. Forgive your mother. Forgive your grandmother for what she did to your mother. Forgive your great grandmother for what she did to your grandmother. Forgive your great great grandmother for what she did to your great grandmother. And if you do that, if just 10 people do that, if 10 people in your neighborhood do it, it will completely shift your neighborhood. And that's why I believe the American woman who thought about mothers being global policy makers and bringers of peace. And now what's going to happen is I'm about to go find her stuff and start reading her stuff because I want to know what she was saying, because that general statement is too big.
It's huge.
Too big of a statement. Yeah. But I want to hear the small things that she said, because I know that to be true in my spirit, because I know it to be true, because it just rings. Like when I said yes, and and I thought about how I show up in the world, how I show up in the world as a woman, and how I support men, and sorry, my opinion, and I'll stand on it, how I feel women should support men. Men may have the vision. we push it forward because we hold the center of creation. And if your husband has a vision and it's so big that it isn't, if it's so big that it encompasses the world, if his audience encompasses the world, and there's a possibility that in his lifetime he will not succeed in encompassing the world, that means that your womb will carry the person who touches the world. I'll just pause and look at you on that one. Our call, our mandate, our God-given blessing is to propel the world forward. And we're out of alignment right now. and we're out of alignment um, because men believe that there's enough men who don't believe that we have a place in regards to the vision. Yet, I don't even think it's that they think we don't have a place. I believe, I believe, well, I don't believe, Parker said it. There's a lack of safety within them.
Yeah, because the same conversation that you just had with women is a conversation that men can have with themselves, and this just isn't the day for that.
Well,
Not,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
But that's that. It's a similar situation. I mean, all these things on both sides perpetuate themselves until they stop, and that's through families.
And it's through families.
And so all of those things that you just said, it's the tone may be different, but it's the same conversation about how these belief systems perpetuate through families, and like why do you believe that? Whatever the belief is that isn't working, like why, like just ask somebody, like why do you think that about yourself and about the world? Whether it makes sense or not, because a lot of times it doesn't make a lot of sense, but people don't know why it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, so I'll leave it at that for now, because I think that that's a whole nother podcast. But that's why, right? That's ultimately why. It's because there's healing that needs to happen on all sides, and we actually we're not given a playbook when we come onto this planet. The playbook comes through our parents, comes through mama, comes through daddy, and everybody has a place in that, right? Everybody has a role. And the catch is that role actually needs to be defined by those two people, but they all have to decide to play.
They have to decide to play.
Right. I'm not talking about
everybody has so on each page. So it's not like mom's writing a page, dad's writing a page.
Exactly.
Mom is writing 3 words, dad is writing 3 words, mom's writing 4, dad's writing 2. The sentences cannot be completed without both.
Precisely.
And so because it cannot be completed without both. And so unfortunately I could speak to both of y'all. I could speak to men and women, yet it's no reason for me to. It's as a woman, that's what I'm here to speak to women.
And it's Mother's Day today.
And it's Mother's Day.
Let's not take away from
that. I was gonna say, and it's Mother's Day
not
today.
Not that every day isn't, but
no, I was gonna say the energy of today has been this, and I've walked around in great gratitude, and the Mother's Day stuff. The Mother's Day, the information of Mother's Day came much later in the day. Yet I was just in gratitude, and there's so many women that have shown up for me. There's so many, there's so many parts to the village, and what's interesting to me is how the village for me has poured into Shayla even more than it's poured into me as mom.
Well, and I guess the reason why I asked you that question earlier is because in my eyes, Shayla is mom. Right? There's not a lot of, I mean, I know both sides of you because I knew you before you became a mom, and I know you now.
Yes.
And just the way it seems to me. Is that that's who you are.
It is. It very much so. I mainly lead with it. Yet there are times when Shayla needs to take the forefront from mom, and that is so mom will protect the family. Shayla has to protect Shayla. And there are some instances where mom needs to come to the back because mom has been attempting to do the thing. That's when the fighting that I like to do. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Those are those times. That's when I pick up the spear and throw it across the. Yeah.
Okay.
No. Oh no. I was going to say. I'm sorry. It wasn't a spear. It was like a javelin thing. But whatever.
The Wakandan staff, it has a point on it. It does things. I mean, that's what it's there for.
What had happened was.
Okay. I mean, this is actually an interesting conversation. I'm not sure it's a conversation for the podcast, but it's coming anyway because I mean, whatever. What? So, but it's interesting because we had I'm curious as to the relationship between that and defense and offense. Because the way that I just heard what you just said was that Shayla goes offensively, whereas Mama is more defense. They both have to carry the spear. The question is like, what are you actually doing with it? And Mama will protect. That's a defensive position. It's protection. But Shayla, when she comes out, she just kind of wants to, sometimes I didn't say it.
She does. Like
she's got goals in mind with the spear and the things that it could do, which are contrary to a defensive position.
So in regards to this here situation, Mama's gonna play defense until Mama plays until defense is kind of pushing against the wall, right?
Until it doesn't work anymore. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Because I'm gonna let Mom lead because Mom is gonna keep the job. Mom is not gonna burn the house down. Mom's gonna do all the things to keep the house safe and keep Shayla out of jail. That's what Mom's gonna do,
okay.
Right? Right.
Well, okay.
So then what? No. So it's not a full. So what happens is because it's technically defense too. But Shayla.
My point exactly.
But Shayla.
This is why there's no daylight.
Shayla then goes.
For years.
Shayla is the sniper.
Yeah.
It's still defense.
Well, it's defense if you're only sniping people that are coming at you. Yes.
Yeah, I am.
Right. So where's the daylight between Shayla and Mom?
There is. Yeah.
Okay.
So with that sniper rifle.
What about it?
Mom is shuttling the kids to the next place. So I might blow up.
You were not. No. I'm not buying it. Mom is behind that sniper rifle. Otherwise, there wouldn't be anything to be sniping half the time. Because you messing with something you ain't got no business messing with. You earn the bullet and you earn the sniper. And Mama's going to take care of business. Don't mess with mothers. Don't mess with mothers. That's the lesson in all this.
No, you should. No.
It's unwise life choices.
Elijah's name for me in the phone is Mama Bear.
Yeah. I know.
Gabe calls me Spawn Point.
Calls you what?
Spawn Point.
Spawn Point. SPAWN space point. Okay.
So I stuck out my finger and he was there. He spawned off of me.
Did he just make that up?
He did.
That's scary.
I looked at his. I know, and I said,
"No, that's scary."
Oh, I'm very clear. I was like, me with masculine energy all the time. Ooh.
Well, okay. We're not even. No.
I might have just derailed the podcast.
Not really. I mean, you didn't. But I'm just like, okay. We Spawn Point.
Yeah.
That's why there's no daylight. That's why.
What do you mean?
And I'm not trying to be right.
Oh, there's no daylight between Shayla and Mom.
Not really.
No, there's some things that Shayla does that Mom don't do.
Well, I'm clear. Well, okay. Never mind.
No, it's not. I mean, like, go into like race car driver mode. It's definitely.
Well, you got to get someplace, don't you?
You know, sometimes I just be mad and just be driving fast and hard.
You got to purge the energy.
I do. And so that's Shayla.
Mama got to purge.
That ain't Mama.
Okay.
Mama wants the four wheels to stay on the car. Shayla wants the motherfuckers to fly off.
Okay.
Like
I cannot with you. All right. I will stand.
See,
I will accept. I will not that I'm not the arbiter of Shayla and Mom. I'm just saying.
Did I ever tell you that I ran 2 cars into a ditch before by the age of 2?
Okay, you know this is being recorded, right?
It's okay. My grandmother was talking to me.
You said by the age of 2.
I was 2.
What were you doing at 2?
I was driving cars. I've been driving my whole life, y'all. Just so y'all know. And the statement is, "But did you die?"
Clearly, you didn't. I mean, that's
no,
why you.
They didn't.
They didn't.
They
okay.
didn't. Yeah,
okay.
There are certain people.
Okay.
They all survived.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Songs really are sung about Miss Shay.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I don't have any stories that are that interesting, like being 2 years old, running people off the road.
I didn't run nobody off the road. I just ran the ditch.
You wait. So you ran into the ditch, or you ran cars?
2 different cars into ditches.
Okay. So you were.
I was 2. I thought that I could drive.
What the hell?
It looks so easy.
Well, clearly you drove. You just didn't drive where you were supposed to be going.
Okay, so the space to get out of the yard is only like it's as wide as a car.
Okay.
I'm 2 years old. Oh, I didn't quite make it.
Well, no, but you got behind the wheel of the vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Did you get it into gear?
Uh-huh.
Was this a stick shift or an automatic? Back then.
Both. I wanted one of each.
That's the damn buffet of cars. Talk about one of each.
George Wilson had several cars in the yard. And my papa, he used to sit me on his lap and let me drive the car.
You can't make this stuff up.
And what had happened was...
Were you in his lap when this happened?
No.
Okay, what had happened?
He got out the car.
Yeah, he was a wise man.
No.
Yeah.
He ran in to get something real quick.
And you decided to take over?
Like, go ahead. You can do it.
What the hell was happening? How did you... Okay.
This is part of why I attempt to have grace with my children. Because I lived past putting not 1 car, but 2 cars in the ditches. Yeah. I think one was a truck and one was a car. Mm-hmm.
I've heard it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At 2.
My grandmother said, "Yeah,
Okay.
That's what she was like. Shayla, you 2 cars? Why did you 2? I was like, I was only 2.
I mean, that is kind of gangster though. That's pretty gangster.
I've had an interesting life.
I would be pretty proud of that story, honestly, if that were me. Like I would tell everybody.
The kids don't know. But
they don't know. No, they shouldn't know.
They shouldn't know.
No,
because then they got ask for grace.
Ideas.
No, they're just gonna ask for grace
when they don't need it.
When they don't need it.
No.
No. Look, but see, what they don't know is that whenever I'm ready to explode, I'm like, Shayla, how you gonna be upside down? You drove 2 damn cars in the ditches. Your legs weren't even long enough to touch the fucking pedals, and you managed.
Wow. Okay.
And I was unscathed. Both of those, didn't hurt myself at all.
Yeah, how did the car do?
I mean, they got it out. They just called my great-grandfather who lived... My grandfather called my great-grandfather who lived down the road, and they pulled it out the ditch.
Well.
I think one of them... The one was my grandparents and one was my great-grandparents. Yeah. So after that, they never left me in a car with keys again. Yeah. Yeah. And if they did, Shayla, don't you drive this damn car. I'm not going to drive the car. And they're like, I know your legs are long now, but don't you? Okay.
Well, that's a testament to grace,
Mm-hmm.
patience,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Apparently, I felt safe my whole life just doing everything.
I guess so.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's why you impart that on your children.
Yeah. True.
You think about it.
Yeah, I was like, I never. Yeah. That's.
It's there.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah.
Gabriel feels a little bit too safe.
Never mind. Anyway, so with that said,
We agree.
yeah, we do, and I think that's a good place to pause.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I do. I
Yeah.
think that I've said it in the. Oh. Um.
I'll let you close it out if you like.
Should I close it with that story I told you about Cree Summers and the moms? And no. No.
Too much.
Yeah, I think that'd be too much. I think it'll start a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
so.
right.
So so thank you all for joining us today.
Mm-hmm.
Two friends on the couch fighting foolishness. One podcast at a time.
That's right.
Today was a great day. I hope that all the mothers out there found time to be grateful for where they are and where they're going to, and also who they are and who they are to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
To all the mothers, happy Mother's Day. Tell happy Mother's Day to someone else, even if it is belatedly. Because there's a whole lot of people that got you to where you are. And so, hopefully I gave you some tips and a little bit safety within yourself to be yourself in front of your children, as well as taking them to a new height and a new place, so that the next generation can be even better than this one. Have a great week, and we will see you guys next week on Fighting Foolishness.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Comment and share.
Indeed. All of the things you're supposed to do on YouTube, we need you to do them here.
You get to do it with us.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Peace out.